It's the holiday season. The weather's breaking. It's getting colder outside. Even here in Florida, it's getting pretty cold today, around like 50s today. So we're looking for something to do to kind of warm us up a little bit, but also improve our health a little bit. So what is that one thing that we need to do? Sauna. So this episode is going to be all about sauna, but also talking about heat exposure and cold exposure.
Yes, exactly. I think now is the perfect time to, do a little bit more heat exposure as people are cold and it makes them maybe not want to go outside as much or not do those things that, you normally do every day, but it's cold. You have to put on extra layers and things like that. But this, just like you perfectly worded, John, is something that brings you so many health benefits. And it's really, a lot of people see it more as a luxury than a necessity. And that's why it was so cool researching about it and seeing that it has so many health benefits on top of just like the relaxation it provides your body.
Definitely. And while we were traveling, we were in different places with different gyms and different facilities that had different types of saunas. So basically, we would try the infrared sauna, we would try the regular sauna, dry sauna, all kinds of different saunas, and each one of them actually has their own benefits, which is really nice.
Right, exactly. I looked into the difference, and the infrared sauna is going to be heating your body with light. So it's going to be that infrared red light that is heating your body. Those saunas are actually a little bit cooler than maybe your normal, dry sauna is what we associate them with, where you either have like a heater or you have like wood burning or coals burning. That type of sauna is a, a dry sauna that or it could be a wet sauna where you pour water on top of it, but it's completely different than the infrared sauna. And the infrared sauna has additional benefits because it is using that infrared light that also helps to, reduce pain and improve mood and a few of those other things.
Definitely. And saunas are extremely important, but why are they important? So we did a little bit of research. So first of all, saunas, we looked at all kind of different studies. A lot of the studies talked about improved circulation, increased metabolism, pain relief, boosting the immune system, reducing that inflammation, increasing the antioxidants. But a big thing is the sweating as well. So when you're sweating, you're releasing toxins, which is very important as long as you're staying hydrated, throughout. And that's all, very important stuff. So one study, I believe, done in 2018 in the Journal of Alternative Medicine talked about the lowering of the blood pressure and all these amazing benefits. And then they talked about why. So a lot of the main reasons talked about, the excretion of toxins from the sweating. Also, heat shock protein mediated metabolic activation. So when you think about proteins and the metabolism, getting that, it's kind of like your body's doing a workout a little bit.
Right, exactly. I think that's one of the things that I kind of saw was that a lot of the physiological responses that are happening during sauna exposure mimic exercise. So you're going to have an increased heart rate. You're going to start to sweat. Your body's going to start to get a little bit more uncomfortable. And staying in that uncomfortable environment is going to give you some of those benefits. Being exposed to the heat is going to cause a little bit of inflammation. However, when you are, recovering from that inflammation, that's when those benefits really begin to happen. So you're going to have cardiovascular benefits as well because your heart rate is being increased. You are, kind of pumping blood throughout your whole body. You're really increasing your circulation. And therefore, that's why you're getting some of these metabolic and cardiovascular benefits.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that the heat exposure in different saunas afterward, your body is trying to kind of cool itself down, which actually is a calming effect. So a lot of people who, do regular sauna use, they, talk about the calming effects of, afterwards, your body's trying to kind of get back to homeostasis and, regulate a little bit. So it's actually a great way to do, a little bit later in the day if, you go to the sauna like after a workout or something, come back, shower, wind down, and it has a calming effect, in the later days.
Yeah, I believe, the biggest thing here, as like I was saying, is that we see sauna as more of like a luxury, like it's like, I'm going to the spa and they have a sauna and a steam room. That's the only way that I was exposed to it as a kid. The Vinoy, shout out to Vinoy, had a sauna in the steam room. We'd go into the, locker room and we'd be like, we're princesses, But looking in the research, a lot of homes in Europe have saunas built in, so a lot of the studies are conducted in Finland because most individuals in Finland have saunas within their home. One of my friends just bought a house in Switzerland and she has a sauna in her home. So it's more common in Europe to just kind of have a sauna in your home. I believe one of the studies conducted in Finland showed a 63% decreased risk of sudden cardiac arrest from routine sauna use. So it's something that to them, it's just kind of built in to their everyday routine. And the thing is like some of the gyms out here, like Crunch, Amped, they're pretty cheap, right? 10, 12, 15, $20 a month. They have a sauna. And sometimes there's like no one in the sauna.
Yeah, I've noticed that as
So
well.
like which is again, I'm all for exercise. I think exercise is definitely number one, but, and I used to fall into this all the time, I would be so focused on like, burning calories and doing exercise. And then I'd be done and I would just like, rinse off, change, leave, go start my day, and now I've completely switched my routine to really, yeah, I still get in my main compound movements. I still focus on lifting and strength training and cardiovascular benefits that way, but I make sure I give myself solid 10 minutes at the end of my workout to sit in the sauna and deep breathe or read. And that's like the best part. Now I'm like excited for
Yeah.
that part of my workout.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point because we want to get kind of out of that sympathetic nervous system activation, like we talked about before for our body to heal. So when you're working out, you're really in that fight or flight point throughout the
Yeah,
workout.
exactly.
And then to take that time in the sauna, instead of being on your phone and still, trying to keep that sympathetic nervous system turned on, like Courtney said, reading a little bit or just doing some deep breathing, it's literally the perfect way because you're getting the benefits of the meditation and the deep breathing, but you're also getting the benefits of being in the sauna. So it's like a perfect way to end the workout.
Right. I'm all about habit stacking. I think that's definitely not a Courtney coin term. It's been around for a while, but like stretch in the sauna, read in the sauna, deep breathe in the sauna, stretch, read, and deep breathe all at the same time. That's what
It's
I do.
it's been kind of chilly out, so when I go to the gym over here at our apartment complex, I go in the sauna for like 5 minutes before my workout and stretch, and that
Yeah.
kind of like gets my blood pumping and like you know heats me up a little bit more. Workout, come, and then afterwards I do a little bit of stretching, but then I do more relaxation afterwards, and it kind of brings me back down. So I honestly do it before and after my workout.
Right, exactly. I think that just finding when it works for you and how it works for you, I'll understand that everyone doesn't have the accessibility, but like I said, a lot of these, big box office gyms are starting to have them because they're appealing to people because of the research that's coming out on the benefits of them. I believe another study showed that pre sauna exposure and post sauna exposure, there was a decreased blood pressure, and it was mainly because, how we've been talking about really increasing blood flow and also the arterial stiffness of our arteries. So when you think of blood pressure, it's really more about like, how intense is that blood pumping through your veins and how thick are those walls. And with the routine sauna, or this I believe was just like pre sauna and post sauna. So it was just with one exposure, they had less stiffness in their arteries, which therefore decreased their blood pressure. And how many people do we know have high blood pressure out there?
I would say 95% of my patients have hypertension or high blood pressure, and heart disease is continuously on the rise and is the number one killer of Americans yet again in 2024.
Right. So it's just something like that it's like, you know, it, and as John kind of mentioned, it's heat exposure, right? So I do believe I'm not going to talk about it in too much depth, but I would love to link in our show notes Andrew Huberman's episode on heat exposure because he really talks about not only sauna exposure, but also just heating the body. So whether it's taking a warm bath or sitting in a hot tub, right? we're not talking about the same benefits that we've been talking about here as specifically with sauna exposure. There are benefits to just being in a hot tub or being in a warm bath as heat exposure. So, maybe you're like, man, I want these things, but there's no way I can go into a sauna. That's where I encourage you guys to learn a little bit more on your own, see how you can incorporate that heat exposure into your weekly routine, right? And it doesn't have to be like an everyday type of thing. I think we always say, try to find what works best for you in your life and in your day to day, Monday through Friday, it could be completely out the window. There's no way you're going to sauna. But maybe Saturday, Sunday, I think also there's places around here that are popping up that have, saunas and cold plunges right there. That's all they are. You just go use the sauna, use a cold plunge. It might be like a monthly membership, might be like a one-time drop-in fee. We're not associated with any of them, so I don't have any names. But
Yeah, I mean, the one that we went to when we were in Phoenix, Arizona was,
Optimize.
yeah,
Shout out to Optimize.
was amazing. And like Courtney said, there's a lot of places that are popping up. And not only, we talk about all the benefits, but just mentally, I mean, you can just tell after going to a place like that and just how good you feel and how, and we'll talk a little bit about the science behind that, but mentally just feeling, honestly, more energy, more clarity, just better overall.
Yeah, I think another thing is, as you talked about how you feel, right? Like the sweat, we all feel good when we sweat, right? We do try to educate people that like sweating doesn't necessarily mean, that if you're not sweating when you're exercise, that's not a bad thing, right? And if you're sweating a lot when you exercise, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing, right? But as Jon was saying earlier, like you are excreting toxins from your body. You're making your body kind of like turn over a little bit, pump new blood, excrete toxins, doing all these things. And you have to replenish that with proper fluids. So you're really just kind of giving your body like a little 180 do over. I think the other study that I found that was very interesting looked at people with chronic migraines and tension headaches. And it did say that in this randomized control trial, they found that people with chronic tension type headaches were randomized into either regular sauna use or just education. So the people didn't know, half of them were getting sauna, half of them were getting education. And the individuals that had 8 weeks of sauna exposure were found to have a significantly decreased intensity in their headache. So just from having that routine exposure, they were able to get, and I mean, how many people are affected by chronic tension headache?
Yeah, a lot.
So again, like you said, it's like you leave and you feel lighter, you feel better.
Yeah.
There's so many things about it,
Yeah, I agree. And then, to touch on the different types, I mean, we talked a little bit about the infrared saunas, but we did a lot of infrared saunas again when we were in Phoenix, Colorado. That was at the Choose Fitness. But yeah, just red light in general. I mean, it's the same kind of light that you're getting during sunsets, and it's very good for you compared to just overall, blue light that we see all day every day. So, getting that red light in is also very beneficial. So if you know of any infrared saunas around, love that as well. You're getting a lot of benefits, but we love the regular saunas, the dry saunas that we use. So either way, you're going to get benefits.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing because for a while I was kind of like, well, if it's not infrared sauna, like I don't want to do it because infrared sauna is like the best type of sauna. But while I was doing this research, I found that there are really a lot of the studies are done with just regular dry and wet saunas. Like I said, a lot of the studies are done in Europe and Finland where people have more accessibility to these things. And that's what's hard about research studies sometimes is it's hard to be like, okay, you need to partake in daily sauna exposure and you don't have accessibility to a sauna without like having to stay there or this or that. So, when they're looking at these studies, they're really trying to figure out like how can we easily implement this type of research study into someone's life. So that's why the research is done over there mainly. Yeah. So definitely think about key points here that we talked about with sauna use. We're thinking of, increased blood flow. We're thinking of decreased inflammation. That may help to increase mood, decrease pain, reduce risk of cardiovascular disease. And are there any other ones I'm missing off the top of my head? We said decrease migraine intensity. Really, I just love that we talked about kind of like that, the sweating and the release of toxins. We listened to a different podcast this week on detox. And, it's like, I feel like that's what I always thought about when I thought of detox, just like sweating everything out. So
Yeah, and giving your body time to heal as well. Like you said earlier about just kind of going, working out, showering, keeping it going, taking that 10, 15 minutes, just relaxing in the sauna, giving your body some time to heal while detoxing is so beneficial. And it's, yeah, like Courtney said, the benefits are just amazing.
All right, so it's too hot in here. It's getting way too hot. We got to cool off.
No,
what are we going to
literally.
do? What are we going to do?
So we have been doing our cold exposures, which a lot of people, I feel like over the past, 5 years or so, it's become very popular, the cold plunges. A lot of different ways to do it. You can go into a real cold plunge. You can go into a cold swimming pool, a cold bath, even a cold shower. Getting that cold exposure somehow has been shown to have benefits. We've been doing it in the pool outside, and yes, we are in Florida, but that pool has gotten cold because it's been in the 40s and 50s, overnight, and it's in the shade a lot. So, even just being in there for a few minutes, I mean, you're really feeling it. But
all I'll say is no one else is in the pool, so it's got to be cold.
Yeah, no,
we're the only
crazy.
crazy people going in the pool.
But first of all, I'll just say mentally, I've noticed, even physically, I'd say I've noticed a big difference because I've been doing it not every day, but say maybe like every other day over the past few weeks, and I can just feel like my muscles overall feel better afterwards. I play basketball a couple times a week, and then for my recovery, I'll go into the cold plunge, and the next day I feel like I really don't have any soreness. So subjectively, I feel like it helps a lot. Definitely wakes you up. So we always say, warm to kind of calm down, cold to wake up. So if you're getting that cold exposure, you're going to have a big time dopamine release, and you're going to be awake afterwards. So it really is amazing for energy, and it's amazing for the feel good hormones in the brain.
Well, that's so interesting that you talk about how your muscles feel, because a study published in 2022 found how highly effective cold exposure is as a recovery tool on a muscular level. So I believe they found that 5 minutes or less of cold water immersion demonstrated positive outcomes for muscle power, perceived recovery, and decreased muscle soreness.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I was first introduced to cold exposure. We did it in high school at track. Yeah.
Oh, you guys were on it?
We were on it.
We were not.
Yeah, we were in that cold tub. I swear that thing was so cold too. My coach would put ice in it, and then it would like circulate, and we would sit in there for a few minutes, and we just thought that's what we had to do. But and that's exactly what he said. He said it was more of like a recovery tool, like for your muscles and things like that. And that is kind of how we used it. I do believe that there is some conflicting evidence. For example, if you are like an elite power or bodybuilder or something, and you're focused more on like muscular development, the cold right after workout may stunt some of the benefits of muscular growth. But specifically as a recovery tool, cold exposure after your workout is great. So that's why you say you feel better, because the research is showing that. And then as Jon kind of mentioned, the dopamine release, right? So I really wanted to talk about this because I feel like we see this everywhere. It's like buzzwords, like, oh, dopamine, like cold exposure.
Gotta get the dope.
Yeah, gotta get the dope. Like, makes you feel so good. And I was like, this is, false. But as I do it as well, like I know it's going to be cold and I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but I get excited to do it. I'm like ready, even though I know it's going to suck. Same thing with my cold shower in the morning. I'm like, this is gonna not be great, but I'm weirdly excited for it. So the way the body responds to the cold exposure is you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable stimulus, right? You're getting into that cold water. Your body is going to kind of go into that fight or flight. Your heart rate may increase, your breathing might increase. Your body is going to start to send out neurotransmitters, and specifically adrenaline and norepinephrine, to kind of like fight or flight. You have to be ready to run from this bear. This is uncomfortable. We're giving you extra boost to make sure that you can fight off whatever uncomfortable stimulus you're putting your
Yeah, you
body
need to
in.
get out of this situation
Yeah.
because you're in a freezing pool and you don't want to get hypothermia.
Yeah, like, yo, you don't understand. This is really cold, and like if you stay in here too long,
Not good.
it's not going to be good for you. So it sends all these signals to your brain. However, you're cognizantly there. You know what's going on. So as you kind of continue to sit in this cold environment, you continue to mindfully breathe, maybe decreasing that respiratory rate, hopefully decreasing your heart rate. You are now just kind of getting the benefits of those neurotransmitters and those hormones that are using that kind of like elevated mood that you would have used to run from whatever stressor. And they're just kind of like sitting there because as your body is getting used to the cold is not getting warmer, right? Your body's just getting more used to it. You're starting to transition from that fight or flight, that sympathetic nervous system, now to your parasympathetic rest and digest. However, those hormones are still elevated.
So you're basically tricking your own body.
Yes, exactly. And that's why cold exposure builds resilience over time, because you're putting yourself in that uncomfortable environment and you're telling yourself, sometimes I feel like we have to talk to ourselves out loud. We're like, this is okay. This really isn't that
Yeah,
bad.
it depends how cold it is for
Yeah.
sure, because sometimes it's like, all right, this really isn't that bad. Sometimes if it gets into the, 36 degrees, like what's like the one that we did in Arizona, the really cold one?
I know, I think it was 42.
42?
Yeah.
What was the
I
not so
think
cold one?
the not so cold one was like 50, and then the
Okay.
other one was like 42, I want to say. But I'm not completely sure.
Yeah, it might be in the 30s, I don't know. But the really cold one, it is cold. And yes, God has kind of talked through it and be like, this is
Right,
okay.
yeah. We had someone there with us to kind of talk us through,
Yeah.
and just kind of help us relax and calm down. And, and we do that, like I said, we do that sometimes even in the pool, depending on how cold it is. And you're building the resilience. You're telling your body, hey, like this is uncomfortable and this sucks, but I'm okay. I can get through it. It's really not that bad. And then your goal, right, is to transfer that same kind of mindset into everyday things. So maybe your boss is like yelling at you, and like normally it would just piss you off and like completely ruin your whole day and you'd be angry the whole rest of the day. Like your goal, right, is after constant cold exposure to kind of carry over some of that stuff into everyday life. So your boss yelled at you, you're pissed off. You're going to have that same like adrenaline rush because you're going to be upset. But your goal is to maybe release the tension in your shoulders, release some of that tension, focus on your breathing, focus on saying some of those positive things, and then kind of pushing away that fight or flight, that stress response, and going more into that parasympathetic rest and digest response. And therefore going on the rest of your day without carrying all that extra tension and stress. So,
wow, that's really powerful.
Thank you. That's why I think we should be doing these things sometimes, right? Like, I think that's what's amazing is that we're doing it for like muscular recovery, but we're also getting some of those benefits of, that rest and digest, that parasympathetic, that calming response. And that is what we're trying to build at the end of the day. We're all trying to build resilience. We're all trying to make it so the little things that bug us on a day-to-day basis don't bug us so much, right? And we can experience more joy and more happiness. And that's why part of the reason why I am ready for it, because I was telling John the other day, I really do think we did them a lot, or not a lot, I should say, but we did it a few times in Arizona. Same thing in the pool. The Arizona pool is colder.
Yeah, much colder.
Much colder. We did the pool in Arizona. We did it in lakes in Colorado, and we're doing it back in pools. I feel like in North Carolina, the ocean got a little bit cold while we were there, right?
No, not like this though.
No. But so just kind of putting ourselves in these uncomfortable different situations to kind of build not only some of those muscular benefits, but also some of those, you know, mental mood benefits as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. And speaking on the benefits and the muscular benefits, a study in the Journal of Applied Physiology in 2021 actually talked about glucose and insulin through cold exposure. So basically, they found that it reduced glucose levels and increased insulin sensitivity through cold exposure through the shivering muscles.
No way.
Yeah, yes way.
No way.
Yeah, so basically, people with pre-diabetes, getting into cold exposure, even with diabetes, able to, and again, I think it's kind of like sauna when we talked about being a little bit like, working out. It's kind of like, the shivering of muscles, the pumping of blood through the muscles and
Yeah.
everything. It helps to kind of, break down the glucose and the sugar a little bit instead of just storing it. And it helps, with the insulin. The insulin doesn't have to do as much, so the fact that they found that, and it also talked about the oxidation process and stuff like that, and just overall benefits as far as actual true, I mean, we know that sugar and diabetes is
Right.
it is just getting worse and worse, and the fact that cold exposure can also help with something like that was really interesting to me.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. Well, first of all, I didn't know that about insulin. That's so crazy.
Yeah, I'm just dropping knowledge.
That is insane. But I do remember that some of the studies and some of the things I've read talk about the importance of shivering, right? So sometimes, like if you get in the cold water or even just like walking outside, right? And it's cold and you shiver, like people are like, this is bad, like I need to put layers. But as you mentioned, shivering is actually like beneficial for our body.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that the kid who was walking around in shorts and a t-shirt in Erie, Pennsylvania when I was in college,
He's Superman.
he was doing it on purpose. He wasn't doing it because he was a weird kid. He was he was doing it to get these benefits.
Yeah. See? Think
Wow.
before you judge someone.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was like -5 out there sometimes, and people would be walking around in shorts in Erie, Pennsylvania, not somewhere where you want to walk around in shorts.
Too cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the shivering is actually like you said, it's like your body kind of like doing a little exercise, helps to build brown fat, helps to kind of promote your body's own inflation, right? So you maybe don't need, and we were talking about this when we went to Universal the other day. It was like cold out. It was not cold, but it was cooler outside, and we knew it was going to get warmer by the afternoon. So we left our jackets back at the hotel, and my mom was like, "You guys are crazy." But I do think that since our constant cold exposure, we have gotten a little more cold adapted, and we feel like maybe we don't need to wear as thick a jacket or bring that sweater with us if we are, going somewhere again where it's like sunny and it's nice. We wore jackets this morning because we were by the water and it was cold.
Yeah,
But-
no, it's cold this morning.
So some of those benefits as well of just like being able to have your body adapt to the cold and feeling more comfortable going outside. One thing I did want to point out and just talk about is like we're talking about jumping in our swimming pool, we talked about as well that there's places you can go that might seem a little daunting to people, that it's like, oh, you have to get in this cold plunge and it's so cold. You can do cold exposure via cold shower, right? You could do it like a cold bath in your house. You could even do it by dunking your feet or your face in a bucket of cold ice water or a bowl of cold ice water. So you can still get some of the same benefits. I do believe that there hasn't been as many research studies done specifically on cold showers because it's really hard to replicate it perfectly because, you can always like turn the water a little hotter or it's hard to temperature, I think, control the same thing with the cold shower. But the most important thing is I swear by the benefits of the cold shower. Literally, and I think that's the biggest thing is that it feels good to me. I get out of that cold shower in the morning and I'm like, I'm ready to attack my day. And to me, even if it's a placebo effect or not, it has given me a new way to start my morning, and that excites me every day and that makes me want to do it. So figure out a way that makes you want to do it, right? And that's why we like doing it in the pool, because it's right here, like in our backyard, and we can just jump in the pool, sit there for 2 minutes, get out, run in the sun, we can jump in the hot tub, or figure out a way that works best for you. I think that that is by far the most important thing.
Definitely. And I would say that do it when you're feeling good. Don't do it when you're feeling sick or tired or anything like that. I mean, obviously, if you're tired, you can do it to wake up. But if you're feeling sick
For
more than
sure.
anything, just because it is a stressful situation where your body is, it'd be like, like working out or anything like that.
Right.
You really don't want to. If your body needs rest, you need to take rest, if you're sick or something like that. But if you're feeling good, that's the time to do it. You're going to get all the benefits, and it puts your body in a very stressful situation. But like Courtney said, if you're able to kind of deep breathe and come down a little bit, then the benefits are outweigh any kind of stress.
Yeah, exactly. I think, it's so amazing to think that we're having more studies come out. We're having more research available on cold exposure and the benefits of increasing your mood, decreasing some of those negative everyday stressors and completely making you just feel well. I think that it's so amazing that, we're starting to research that more and we're starting to really see the benefits of it. So, just thinking of decreased stress, improved mood, and slowing the progression of neurodegenerative diseases. So that one last thing, I got to talk about that, I guess.
Yeah.
Because now I said it. So I do believe that in terms of neurodegenerative diseases, it goes back to some of those hormones. So it does go back to the release of those stress hormones in the body and building different neurosynaptic pathways for benefit.
So Parkinson's, for example, is the lack of dopamine in the brain.
Yes, thank you.
Which leads to all kinds of different symptoms, and it is very. We work with a lot of Parkinson's patients. It's a very slow, progressive decline. So yeah, to anything to increase dopamine, which is exactly what cold exposure is doing, is going to kind of slow down that process, and hopefully, we can get to the point where Parkinson's numbers are going down.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that that was really cool to read on that and see that, like John said, that's why I wanted to make this podcast. I guess this might be the last or second to last episode of 2024, so I can get kind of sappy, right? Like, we see so many conditions day after day in the variety of settings that we work in. And that's why I woke up, January 2024, and I was like, John, I want to do this. I want to talk about these things because, like, we see it every day. And to read study after study that says sauna exposure like decreases the risk of cardiovascular disease, it's like so crazy,
Yeah, no.
And like all the things like proper food, proper hydration, proper exercise,
Yeah, no, I really appreciate those words. I agree. I agree 100%. I think that all we have to do is just try to continue to get the words out there, because going through school, I went to school for 6.5 years to become a doctor of physical therapy, learning about all the neurodegenerative diseases, learning about all the chronic diseases that we deal with, and seeing patient after patient after patient who tried to do, right things in their life, still continue, cancer and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and dementia and all these different things, and diabetes. I mean, everybody, high blood pressure, heart disease. It's just um, you know like Courtney said, we see these things every single day, and instead of when I was in school, instead of learning, hey, like what can we do to, stop this? Or, it was more like, hey, this is the way it is. Like, this is what we can do in physical therapy to help these patients. But at the end of the day, like they're gonna decline, and that's really all we can do. No, it has to do with food. It has to do with exercise, and it has to do with a lot of other things other than just this is what it is. Parkinson's is a thing. It's always going to be a thing. We just have to give them some levodopa or some medication to try to help, and that's it. Like, no, let's try to do what we can now to stop, as much
Yeah.
as we can, because it's sad.
Right. And I think, as I was in school, I was listening to podcasts for fun and they were talking about how, Terry Walls, she was an individual with multiple sclerosis and she completely took herself, you know, into remission, right? With diet. And she went from being wheelchair bound to now riding a bike, and people with early signs of cognitive decline being able to reverse that. And individuals that have every single genetic marker for cardiovascular disease not getting cardiovascular disease. And it's just so amazing that we have the potential to do some of these things. And I think that the biggest thing is that sometimes we just don't know. And we don't know where to start and we don't know where to stop. And we understand we can't do it all. I can't do it all. John can't do it all. But at the end of the day, every little bit counts. And that's why I thank you guys so much for tuning in week after week and listening to what we have to say and seeing what things pertain to your life and what things, you just maybe don't worry about. And that's what's so cool about knowledge is that I can say something and three people can hear it and three people can implement it differently and get different results that are beneficial for them. And that's why I love doing this. So, thank you guys so much. I did also want to shout out that this episode was suggested by Olivia Keegan. She asked for sauna and cold exposure. So, Liv, this one's for you. And we thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like I said, I'm not sure if this will be the holidays are crazy. I'd love to do maybe one more before. Well, no, I mean Sunday is the 29th. So we could do one more.
Yeah, we could drop one more before 2025, but
Yeah.
hey, we got some master classes coming up in 2025 you do not want to miss. We have some special guests coming on. We got some big time new studies coming out about a few different topics that you're not going to want to miss.
Exactly. So, again, guys, make sure that you are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, comment something you learned in this episode, or maybe comment something you want to hear in 2025, right? We are open to suggestions. We love each and every single one of your comments, things like that. It means so much to us. So, what are we going to ask them to do this week, John? We always ask them something every week. We cannot this week.
Yeah, so I would just say, again, it's not as easy as some of the other ones, but just try, to get out and get to a sauna or try some cold exposure. Try one of the two. It's definitely, December, January. I know some of our listeners are up north. So, if you can get to a sauna and try to go a couple times a week, whether you go to a gym or if there's just a sauna or cold exposure, place nearby that you can get to. Just try it out, see how it feels for you, and let us know.
Yes. Thank you guys so much again for tuning into this week's episode. We can't wait to give you some more amazing information next week.
Peace.
Bye.